And hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Collegiate GameDay, where we take a look at everything that happened in CSL for the last tournament and get you all hyped for the next one. And we're probably also going to have some special guests again to give us a little bit of more insight into the everyday life of a CSL team and player. With me today, we have Cheesehead Logic, Daniel Pauly, as always, and unfortunately our other main guy, Chris Messer, he is in finals currently, and he had to cancel at the last moment. He's got a bunch of presentations and stuff he just wasn't ready for because, like every college student, he does everything at the last moment. Thus, he will not be able to join us, but you do have a nice, pretty picture of him in your face right there. He will just be gazing into your soul all night long. Just to get some quick stuff out of the way, of course, CSL this season is being brought to you by NCIX. Go check them out. They're kind of like a Newegg. Think of them like that. Get your computer parts from them. They're actually pretty cheap. I've checked them out. I haven't bought anything yet, but I am planning to build a secondary pretty soon, so I will be. We also have Raid Call as our sponsor this season, so definitely go check them out. And then we also, of course, also have MSI, and we have a giveaway from MSI currently, wherein you can win a laptop like the one you see currently on your screen. All you need to do is send us a video that shows why you deserve a new laptop. Maybe a picture with some video of why your old laptop is real crappy. And I might actually be sending one of these in too, because I could totally use a new laptop. So, that having been said, how are you today, Mr. Cheese?
Not too bad. We just got done with the community game night not too long ago. It was a really good night. It was successful. Got to use some of the new GameHeart UI. Been watching
Sweet.
I know, right? Been watching a little bit of Code A. Actually, currently still watching a little bit of it while doing the whole multitasking bit. Been really entertaining. Schoolwork and the whole spiel as always. So going through that whole bit.
Excellent. It's good to hear you going through your everyday stuff as usual. Well, I guess let's get started. And
let's do it.
Let's do this, and we'll start off by looking at the brackets from this last qualifier, as we do every time. There were more teams in this time. I think last time there were only probably about 50, and I think there were a good 60 or so.
Yeah, a little. I think a little bit under 64, but not that much less. I think maybe somewhere around mid 50s. There's a couple buys, a couple forfeits, but not really anything too significant.
Yeah. First round, I think, generally went as we expected it to. There are a couple of notables, of course. Personally, as we can see here, UC Irvine unfortunately had to forfeit. Hopefully they'll be able to get back in next qualifier. They're not. I don't think they're one of your typical household, CSL huge team, well-known names. But I do think that if they're in there, they can definitely make some noise.
They have an opportunity. I mean, almost any school in California right now seems to have at least a decent player base, if not a good one. So they're able to compete. They're able to make a little bit of noise. The only thing I had really notably too much from the first round was Purdue versus Brandeis, somewhere in the middle of the bracket over there. Brandeis, typically actually a pretty good school themselves, but Purdue, one school that I'm used to seeing all the time, get very deep into the tournament, whether it's round of 16, round of 8, whatever it is. They lost 3-2, so that was probably the only upset. Moving into second round, again, not too many shockers. I think only Washington, Texas A&M, the round of 2, the 3-2 close call for Washington probably is the most notable that I can imagine.
Yeah, and we actually had Cal Poly Pomona do real well in this tournament. They actually beat Illinois Urbana in the first round, which Illinois was a pretty good team last year. I believe they made it fairly far in the playoffs, and then ended up taking out Harvard 3-2 as well. And Harvard is again one of not those huge names, but still getting further and further along in the bracket is always a good thing.
Well, yeah, well, you have to respect them. I mean, there's a couple names, I guess, if we want to just kind of bunch them together. Cal Poly Pomona and New York University were the two new bloods that kind of really showed their face in this tournament. Cal Poly Pomona actually having a little bit of a tougher road. The other side, and like you mentioned, campaign they had Illinois, they had Harvard. They actually somebody I didn't notice until now. North Texas was actually in there. I thought they were not. I didn't know where they snuck from, but they beat them, which North Texas is a good school. They have a lot of talent over there, so that's a that's big process for them. But unfortunately, again, their run did end when they ran into Georgia Tech, which is again huge powerhouse. No surprises there. New York University on the other side, they kind of met their doom to Washington, but through their path, I mean, they beat UCLA, they beat Arizona State. They beat Boston, they beat Western Washington, which again Boston and Western Washington don't look as exactly the top tier schools. They usually don't get far. They're usually a first round, second round type of school, a very low seed. But regardless, still really nice to see some of that new blood, see some of these other schools kind of come out and shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also beat UCLA, who's a pretty good school in their own right. We did have a couple of close calls. I think you mentioned that Washington barely managed to eke out Texas A&M. Texas A&M is, of course, I believe they won the Lowell side of CSL last
Yep.
year, right? So
Yep.
last season. So it's good to see their StarCraft 2 team doing as well.
Oh yeah, no, they didn't do too bad last season. I mean, last qualifier they didn't do too bad. They also last season, just in general, they performed pretty well. I think they got to the first few rounds of the playoffs as well, and that was probably one of the deepest pools we've ever seen players and teams. So
Absolutely. And then we also had actually Western Ontario shave off a close call against UC San Diego with a 3-2 in that second round as well. So there was definitely some potential upsets going on. These big teams managed to pull out big names at the end, but those are definitely close calls. I also see that McGill University, who managed to make it to the third round, ended up beating up RPI. That's Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, I think. And I know that RPI made it fairly far last season.
yep.
And then, of course, we also had Rutgers and UMN Twin Cities, the University of Minnesota, play in the second round, and Rutgers lost that one 3-2. I know that, I think for a couple of us, Rutgers was kind of like a dark horse type candidate to make
Yeah.
it um, into round of 8, round of 4.
Well, I mean, my other one, I guess, I'll call would be probably Carleton University. That was actually one of my picks to make it to the finals and to qualify for the playoffs. I was actually a little bit shocked. They ran into Maryland College Park, which the last qualifier they went pretty damn far. They almost got there as well. So, unfortunate meeting in the round of 16. It was kind of one of those really close, nail-biting series. Hopefully, we see Carleton back again. Again, seeing as also Maryland College Park lost because UT Austin was kind of one of the unexpected schools. Nobody knew what they were capable of, but they basically rolled through Florida, Toronto, Twin Cities, and then College Park as well. So,
And at this point, you can't. These College Park guys, they're here.
consistent,
They
man.
were they were in the round of 8 last tournament as well. I don't know if they made it to the round of 4.
I think they were a round of 8 school. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. We'd have to check back again. I'll look at that. But
Well,
yeah,
regardless, they played twice. They've been casted at least twice now, and they were the first basically returning school from a previous bracket into the casted portions in round of 8.
they
and
were.
round of
Oh,
4.
there we go. They were round of 4 last time. They lost to
Round of
Berkeley.
4. So there you go. So they've been on our stream quite a lot. Hopefully next time they can break through. And as you said, UT Austin making it through. They had a forfeit first round. Basically looks like they streamrolled Toronto and Twin Cities 3-1 and 3-0, and then barely managed to beat College Park 3-2. So it's definitely a team that came out on nowhere. I kind of wonder what would have happened if Carleton would have made it to play against Austin, if Carleton would have been able to beat that Austin team or not.
Yeah, definitely it depends. I mean, again, fates aside, just unfortunate because we didn't know exactly all the universities by the last show that we did. A couple of schools that kind of we didn't expect, like I think it was either Western Ontario or Georgia Tech. One of the schools was not signed up at the moment, so kind of I feel like as though even though they would have made it potentially even through Austin, or if they would have gotten to the round of 8, they would have probably had their run ended by Western Ontario regardless.
Well, which of course is, as we can see, is what happened with Austin getting taken out by Western Ontario. I think those games were actually closer than they appeared. The final score might be a little bit deceiving. It is a 3-1. It could have very easily been a 3-2 or even a 3-2 lead going the other way. Utah, of course, here is another team I think that kind of snuck up on a few people. They went through, let's see, San Diego State, Columbia, and McGill. Of course, close games versus those two before 3-1ing versus Western Ontario. So it's actually really good to see that there's, while you still have these major schools winning, it's really good to see that these other teams are getting that chance and opportunity and giving themselves that opportunity to really make it deep into these brackets.
Well, again, we don't exactly get to see every single last game, so I also like consider things like skill level, what rank are they, what races did they play. I bet some of these schools that are a little bit Terran and Protoss favored probably have maybe a slightly easier time than some of the schools that are a little bit heavier Zerg favored. So, well, again, it's tough to tell, but yeah, it's nice to see some of the new faces and some of the schools breaking on through. Really like it. If anything, I had pretty much was big shout outs again to Western Ontario and Georgia Tech qualifying, but during Western Ontario's run, OSG lost both of his games in round of 8 and the round of 4. Something to note.
He definitely did, yeah.
Which is very shocking, very very shocking to see that happen.
And
a good player like that.
He was the only loss.
Yeah, both series
in both of the series too. So. And we talked about this last game day as well, as where you can have that one big name, big player in your team, but if for some reason he loses, the rest of your team has to be able to pick you up, and I mean this this was about as big of an example as you can get. I mean we definitely had we talked about that game that Suppy lost versus Rutgers last season. We talked about some other general things like that, but I mean, this is this is about as big of proof as you can get here.
Yeah, no, you gotta have depth. You gotta have depth. If you plan to get far, it doesn't matter whether it's esports, sports, whatever. You gotta have talent. You gotta have depth to make it through. And I mean, Western Ontario kind of showed grit that they were able to. Everybody else was able to show up and perform well. So, big congratulations to them.
Theory, they have FXO Theory, yep. who played some badass games.
Yeah, at least for me, most memorable, I think it was against Solgood. It was Solgood he played and just basically crippled a Zerg completely on Star Station. It was disgusting how well he played.
That was cross spawn as well, right? It wasn't even close spawn?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
So it wasn't even like cheesy crippling. It was just straight up beating down, like, of course,
if anything else,
being a Zerg and Theory being a Protoss, we'll throw that in there, but the point is that it wasn't a specific advantage.
Well, just overall, you did a good job of harassing. At least from what I remembered, really delayed the third base, utilizing the Stalker, the Mothership Core, Zealot, trying to deny as best he possibly could, and he just did that.
I think he had some Oracle play in there too, which is pretty awesome to see.
If anything else to note, probably would be Georgia Tech, our second finalist that won. They completely crushed Washington, outclassed, which was absolute shocker.
Yeah, man. Oh my God.
I just 3-0'd him.
Just watching that game was just like, what is going on here? This is not some jobber school that we're talking about here. This was Washington. This is last season's, one of the top teams. And where maybe not for possibly messing around with their lineup a little bit too much, they could have very well been in the finals. And we heard definitely about their boot camps and their preparation for all the teams. And I mean, a 3-0 that just blew me out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to explain exactly what's going on with Washington because when after they won the round of eight, we did a little bit of an interview. Kawhi did mention that since spring break, since Hots came out, since last season, they haven't been as motivated. So they've had a little bit of a lazy streak. They haven't had a lot of players practicing. The preparation hasn't been there as it was last season. Just hasn't the gears haven't exactly turned like they did last season. So I think we might see them if they participate in a future qualifier. Maybe they'll get into a little bit more rhythm. But at the moment, just seeing them getting crushing through the smaller schools, but then once soon as they get to a school that matches their stature, they got completely embarrassed. I mean, no offense to Washington, but you guys are better than that.
And I mean, it should be noted that during the Washington NYU game, I believe um, both Caliber and Kawhi didn't play their main race, or I should say, Caliber randomed.
Yeah, Caliber random.
And Kawhi played
was
Zerg.
Yep.
And then they went back to their respective races, which I believe is Terran and Protoss, right?
Yep.
So they went back to their respective races versus Georgia Tech, and they beat NYU 3-1, and they lost 3-0. So I'm wondering if it's just, I don't know if they're out of practice with their main races, or
well, I mean, I can't exactly speak. Well, again, I can't speak for Caliber. He's got his own thing going on right now as well. He's just joined Roots, so I don't know what his practice is like, what he has to do in regards to that. I know Kawhi, meanwhile, has been looking for a team, but also, again, going back to when talking to him, he has been working a lot on Zerg. Towards the end of Wings of Liberty, he was practicing about, I wasn't sure if he said 50% or something like that, 50-50, but he was playing a lot of Zerg, and that's what he's trying to do right now through Heart of the Swarm, is just try to have kind of a little bit of a balanced practice between both the races, trying to get a feel for them. So I don't know. Again, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe just something bad happened. Maybe just finally the gas ran out of the gas ran out of tank. Who knows? And I mean, it's not like we can exactly take credit away from Georgia Tech. They have a lot of talented players. They played really well. I mean, they played up to their ability, which was nice to see. So, who knows? I mean, that's just sometimes how the esports crumbles, man.
Well, I mean, if nothing else, I can say for certain that if they're in following qualifiers, they're it's definitely, once again, a team that you'll have to pay attention to as you're going through the brackets.
Who are our four teams now in the playoffs?
So of course, Georgia Tech and Western Ontario being the two teams that passed from this qualifier. So we have UC Davis, Berkeley, Western Ontario, and Georgia Tech, which are, I mean, those are some serious business schools. Those are.
Well, I mean, those are last year's like deep playoff schools. I mean, these are the schools that got into the round of 8, round of 4, and the grand finals as well. I mean, the only one really missing out of that whole party right now is Washington. So, I think they're gonna. I feel like maybe after this tournament, maybe just something maybe this was something that will spark their fire or spark their motivation, because they're the only school out of the whole group that got really deep last season that isn't there right now. They're missing out on the party, man. They got the invitation, but they're just not there.
Yep, and I think that's definitely got some. So far, we've gotten most of like the giant elephants basically out of the qualifiers and into the playoffs. So it should be really interesting to see what comes out of these next two qualifiers that come up.
Yep.
Anything more that you'd like to say about this bracket here?
Being a sports nerd, shout out to Arizona State beating Arizona. That's a huge rivalry in the state of Arizona in football and college basketball. I might not see anything in esports at the moment, but when the other world, I guess if you want to call it, it is huge. It's crazy. I've seen the games. I've seen footage. It's hectic. They hate each other basically, and again, I don't know how I don't know how nerds kind of react to that. I don't know how sports nerdy they are, but I know definitely it's a big deal for them down there. So congratulations to Arizona State.
Absolutely. All right. So I think this will wrap this portion up. All right. So back here, so I think next we're gonna step into our game of the qualifier.
Yep.
Because it's not quite week. Game of the bi-monthly game. I don't know.
I don't know. Get with the
Whatever.
qualifier number 2, man.
Point is,
Keep it simple.
it's the games that we pick that we liked for some reason that we're gonna share with you here. And so let's bring that up. So this game was between Victor X and Caliber. This was the Washington versus NYU game here, and tell us why you like this game.
Meta game is why I like this game. Why I really love this game. Again, last one I chose again was a TVT previously, another TVT again, but this time it showed a different version of the TVT meta, how it's going. Ever since Star Tail Sound and some of the professional players in Korea started working this new double Hellbat drop with the double Medivacs, we've been seeing a lot more Terrans use it in TVT. So this is a perfect example where Caliber spawning a random came up as Terran, and Victor X, who also was random as well, also as a Terran. Both players decided to do exactly the same identical build, which at the time was just hilarious to watch. We're just like, is this really happening right now? And both players dropped each other. Caliber did it work his a little bit more efficiently, though, kind of dropping not only once, but he dropped a couple times, was just very persistent, killed a lot of workers, got ahead, and just showed a superior macro. For those who don't know, again, Caliber, first of all, is a Protoss player, so he did show really good Terran skills. As Victor X kind of transitioned into Hellbat, Mass Viking, Caliber got 3 base, Siege Tank, he got the whole mech composition, you got Hellbat, Siege Tanks, Vikings, everything, so shows superior macro, but the most thing to walk away from is just kind of how that metagame was. Very entertaining to watch both players hit basically the exact same timings, pass their medevacs over each other, and just do the whole double Hellbat drop. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was quite funny. I was catching those two. Hold on, I'm trying to bring it up right here, where those two medevacs is passing each other in the night in the middle of the map, both carrying the exact same amount of units into the exact same place, and I really gotta wonder. I think even after that entire ordeal, Caliber just gave a hearty lol in chat where I don't know if
Oh, it was Victor too. Victor laughed also. He's just like, oh, it's just like I think both players was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah, and I think yeah, and then it ended up being Hellbat versus Hellbat fight inside of a base to combat the Hellbat drop. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I think this is really the first time that we've seen a Hellbat drop happen in CSL. Do you?
I think it's
think
meta,
there's any
man.
specific reason for that, or
Meta, exactly the same. Going back to the very first reason, we haven't really seen that type of play, say, maybe 3 weeks ago. We've just seen it recently. The past couple of weeks, it's finally popped up. We've seen it in professional play. We've seen it on ladder and stuff like that. The meta game finally caught up to us here in North America, so I think that's part of the big stuff. Are we going to see it every single time we see a TVT? No, because, again, part of the meta, 1 week we show a new build that seems imbalanced as hell, but then next week people figure out that Widow Mines, turrets, or a certain positioning helps you out, or certain unit compositions help you defend it, or just getting your SCVs out of there before the medevacs could actually drop the Hellbats on top of them. So just for the time being, I found this very proper, which is how the metagame is. It's just nice to see one of the new builds that's coming out in HOTS and TVT.
yeah, absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see how future players started defending us. This, as you were mentioning, defending Hellbat drops with Hellbats seems a little bizarre. But
works,
I mean, that's what you got.
works.
That's what you got, right? I do wonder how something like this would do in against just like a Widow Mine build. Depending on placement, of course. It'll be interesting to see how something like this develops. And I believe this game was won by Caliber,
Yep.
but it was quite a close game, and it's always amusing when you have not only a mirror matchup, but a mirror game as well.
Oh yeah.
So that was quite an entertaining game. I believe Twitch chat at that point was
Well, everybody kind of had a little bit of
was in
LOL
hysterics
moments.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was just kind of like, wow, is this happening?
Yeah. All right. Let me bring up the game that I would like to talk about, and this was just a moment here. This was one of our big name matches, essentially. between Mason and Kawhi Rice from. So it's round of 4, Georgia Tech versus
Washington.
Washington. Sorry, I'm getting stuck out.
Oh, in a moment, yeah.
So what I actually was really what was really most interesting to me in this game, and I think I don't know how much of it you watched, but Kawhi was trying to land his fifth base all game. And Mason was just on that fifth base all game. And this was a I think like a 35-minute or 40-minute game or something. And Kawhi barely managed to get any use out of that fifth base. And Mason was doing it in a very interesting way where he was using like burrowed not just burrowed banelings, and a lot of this game ended up being like a burrowed widow mine next to a burrowed baneling, because they were just trying to place him in the exact same areas, because of course you want to place him in the chokehold. So you had these like massive amounts of widow mines just all around, and then you had Mason going into heavy, and I mean heavy ultra production. Like that was a large part of his composition, and that against widow mines, like mass widow mines, is a lot of death. Is a lot of death. But it was this fifth base that you see right here that just kept on getting pestered by basically maxed out army just hitting it repeatedly, and Kawhi was never able to get the the mineral production that he really needed after a while.
Agreed. Well, if anything that really caught my eye throughout the game was just there was never. I don't want to say never, but for about 80% of the time, Masan was really on back foot. Kawhi kept sending the typical composition we see now in TVZ with the Marine Marauder bio and Mind Ball, just constantly harassing, pressuring, dropping. Masan had to be defending most of the game. Never really had a chance where he had a solid economy where he could comfortably get those ultras out until he finally just kind of got a little bit more stable. Like you said, started denying the fifth base over and over again, which kind of made Kawhi sit back a little bit more than he would have, which just gave right enough amount of time for him to start ultraless production, which gave him more muscle. And from there, it kind of goes slightly sometimes in favor of Zerg. And I mean, you got to give props to almost any Zerg right now with Haas. I mean, it's pretty tough dealing with Terran, especially at the level that Kawhi is on. I mean, both guys are grandmaster players, some of the top North American figures. So, I mean, you're basically butting even heads, and at that point, a little bit of balance, a little bit of kind of how the game design comes into play. So, it was nice to see Masan overcome that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was it was a very entertaining game. I would say it's probably one of the better games that we've had so far in the qualifiers that have come through. It was this nice, lengthy back and forth. I think Masan was probably ahead for most of the game, but Kawhi was never quite out of it. Like it felt like he should have been out of it earlier, but Kawhi's Kawhi, and is just gonna be badass like that. So definitely props to him. Although I think this was the second game between him, yeah. So Kawhi losing this game definitely didn't help their chances, and of course then they fell into 2v2 as well, and that was pretty much the end of that.
Yep.
So, anything else you'd like to talk about before we go to break here?
Honorable mention, again, going back to Washington, honorable mention to Huang Po playing that 1v2 in the round of 8 against New York University. That was probably the most wasteful game I've ever casted in my life. And the funny thing is, we do cast off replays, so I actually didn't notice until we actually got in the game. That's how unaware I was at the moment. And when we spawn, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why is there only one player? And then I'm like, oh my god, they're actually playing a 1v2 right now. Like,
Well, the thing is, yeah, that can definitely be tough, but the other player does have a bunch of extra places that can extra bases. Wow, I cannot talk. Extra bases that he can suddenly just grab. So I think it would have been maybe even better if they just had like somebody random sit in and so he gets at least the minerals mining off the other player once he leaves. But such is life, It didn't end up hurting him too much. They managed to go on fine after that loss, and I think that's the only game that NYU won.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna take just a short break here while we get our special guest in. I believe it's going to be Remix,
Georgia Tech's
from
captain.
Georgia Tech's coordinator and captain. I believe he's also one of their 2v2 players, so maybe we'll ask him a little bit about the 2v2.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned, everyone, and we'll be back in just a moment here. And welcome back, everyone. This is Collegiate GameDay. Of course, our sponsors once again are MSI, NCIX, Raid Call, and me. Yeah. With us is, of course, Daniel Pauly, one of our casters, She Said Logic, and our interview today is Remix from Georgia Tech. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, for the record, what is your actual name?
My name is Marco.
All right, Marco. Okay.
Hello.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting.
Sorry.
You know what? That
fine.
didn't even pop into my mind, but I'm glad somebody else caught it. All right. So first of all, congratulations on making it all the way through. It looked like you guys had kind of a tough road. You had to go through some pretty good teams. How do you feel like your entire bracket went?
Well, I really think actually last year's playoffs bracket was a little bit harder. We had to go through like 3 national champion teams back to back to back, and it really prepared us, I guess, for this year. Like we came in, we knew exactly how hard the best schools were, exactly how well we'd have to play to beat them, and when we got into our bracket, we already knew that Berkeley was out, and it was kind of unlucky. Like we were a little bit disappointed that Washington was on our side of the qualifying bracket, because like that means that one of us couldn't go through. And we also had North Texas on our side of the bracket, which was a little bit scary because they've always been good. They won last year, and so it ended up all right. We ended up actually not dropping a single map the entire tournament, which was nice, and it really gave us a lot of confidence, and it was a good tournament for us.
Now, were you surprised that Cal Poly beat North Texas?
Yeah, actually, right before that match, I feel bad saying this. Like the Cal Poly guys are really nice, so if they're watching this, please don't take offense. But actually, immediately before that match, I promised to buy my whole team dinner if Cal Poly beat North Texas. Maybe they'll hold me to that, maybe not. But yeah, that was that was really surprising. We were not expecting that at all, and Cal Poly was a good team. I don't know. Honestly, I think that North Texas was definitely favored, but that's what happens in these tournaments.
Yeah,
Teams come out of nowhere.
You never quite know. And of course, 3-0ing Washington. That's How did you manage to pull that one off?
We were out with a vengeance from last year. Last year, we thought we had it. We pulled the perfect lineup. I ended up sniping Kawhi Rice last year, and that was like free that game up so that other grandmasters could play. And like everything came down. We thought we had it perfect last year, and we ended up losing. So we really that was the team that we wanted to beat. And it just it was pretty lucky for us. I think that honestly. I think that Washington made a mistake, or not necessarily Washington, but I think Kawhi Rice made a mistake by switching to Zerg. He's been trying to go back and forth with Zerg and Terran, and it's just going to be tough to play at such a high level with both races right now. And then the 2v2, like we've always been strong in that, and we've just got like a deeper roster than them, and I think that's what contributed to our win.
So were you surprised that Kawhi was back as Terran for this round?
Not necessarily. I was a little bit. We kind of expected it. Terran versus Zerg is really, really strong right now. But luckily for us, he hit Masan, who's sitting right behind me. And Masan is absolutely one of the best ZVT players I've ever seen. Like, I have not – he streams 5 hours a day. I've never seen him lose to ZVT. And so, I mean, it was perfect that we hit him with Kawhi Rice.
We can nerf this on. Okay, so you, Berkeley, Davis, Western Ontario, and, just for shits and giggles, let's say in the next 2 qualifiers, Washington finds their way in. Which one of those teams would you want to avoid out of the whole entire playoffs?
Honestly, I want to avoid Washington again. I really want to hit Berkeley. We've never gotten a chance to play them.
That's the Korean answer right there. That is the Korean answer.
If you'll point your attention at the flag.
There you go.
Flag brings you power.
But, we've traditionally the CSL has loved Suppy. And
he's pretty good.
And, yeah, he is very good. No doubt about that. But, we really want to show that our players are just as good, that, the Western and the California school, like the California, the Canadian, all those schools, they're not the best. We want to show the Southeast has got it too. And who better to beat than Berkeley in order to claim that title?
All right. Now, with Masan sitting behind you, I know he can't probably hear you right now at the moment. What's, like, your biggest pet peeve against him? Like, is there anything that bugs you? Is there anything funky about him?
Okay, well, first of all, he might not like me telling you this. And if our school finds out, they definitely won't like it. But he lives under my bed. Yeah, so last year, you guys, I'm sure some of you guys read the article about him being the homeless Surge. And that continues to this day. He never bought housing, so he lives with me. And but I'd say, he's gonna get mad at me for saying this, but every time I try and tell him, like every time we try and talk some form of strategy, I'm like, oh man, I can't counter this, I can't do this, something like this is strong. He's got some answer that he'll just throw back and it's like the most in-depth, like amazingly specific answer that you could possibly imagine. And it just shuts down every one of my arguments, and I hate it. I can never win with him. He
looks over.
He's listening in. He's streaming right now, but he knows what's going on. But he's just got an answer for everything, and usually that's considered a bad thing. Like, oh, he's got an answer for everything, but he's never really wrong. Like,
now are we talking about everything? Like, are we talking about outside of StarCraft as well, or are we just talking about?
No,
StarCraft?
I think in real life, I know a bit more than he does about some things, but
you can school him about Street, but he can school you.
Yeah, I'm straight from Atlanta. I got the street cred. I'm not actually from Atlanta, but I guess maybe I adopted. It adopted me. Atlanta life chose me, but yeah, I mean he really knows his stuff. He's a very intelligent player, so. But that is definitely it. Yeah.
Kind of like kind of a little bit of my type of thing. Are you like any bit of like a sports nerd? Do you watch like any sports, or are you just like full on set like StarCraft, RTS, like anti-sport?
I used to. I never really watched sports. I played tennis all through high school. I was like, my parents would always make me play. My mother was like a really good player, and my parents would always make me play because they're like, oh, you need to do something that you can play in college. And now I get to tell them, see, I was right. I could have played video games all this time because I play them for my school. But no, I don't really watch too many sports. The only thing I really pay attention to is basketball, and that's a little bit rare. Like I like to play around and try and dunk. So, I mean, I can almost do it.
I try to throw down. How tall are you?
I'm 5'10" and I have like a 30-inch vertical at least.
God damn.
Because I trained I had to take weightlifting in my senior year of high school, and I didn't want to do weights, so I just trained with the calf raises for like an hour a day, 5 days a week, and like now I have a ridiculous vertical for some reason.
Not bad, man. Not bad.
There you go. So I'm usually curious about not just you personally, but your entire team. How do you guys how do you guys mesh? I mean, we've had a lot of kind of opposite spectrums. We've had a lot of teams that we know that they do a lot of stuff together. They do a lot of scouting together. They're always hanging out. And then we've also had the other side of teams who maybe they've never even met each other. They've only ever talked online. Where does your team kind of fall in that spectrum of together?
I think I'd say I mean, I guess I don't really know the intricacies of other teams, but I'd say we're probably the closest knit team in the CSL. We go out to dinner we just got back from a team dinner at a Korean barbecue. We hang out. There's 3 of them hanging out in my living room right now. I live with one of them. We've got a 6-person apartment next year where the entire team's living together. I mean, we spend all of our time together, and we're all great friends. Everyone's really nice. Everyone gets along really well, so it works out perfectly, and it's like a really good environment for our team.
So you guys do a lot of other stuff, not just StarCraft related, but you hang out and help each other study or something of that sort.
Maybe not study as much. we play a lot of Magic.
This part was for the parents.
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm studying right now. I'm going to the library after this, but we started. We play Magic together. We play Naruto games. They're playing that right now in my living room. We play Dota together, and like outside of that, even we play tennis. We go on trips and stuff. I mean, we do everything, anything. Even outside of StarCraft, we do it together.
Say hypothetically in the fall season, kind of like how in the past fall, where there's an attempt at a beta league for Dota. If there's an actual Dota league in fall 2013, would you guys enter probably as a team?
We would have some players enter. My roommate is that beta league that went down, the CDL. He was the Georgia Tech team captain, and there's a couple other kids. A lot of the StarCraft players do play Dota, but he's really the only one that would be on the Dota team. And we would definitely enter that. We're kind of aiming to go for the full sweep. I don't know if this isn't the scope of this interview, but we've got the League of Legends team. Our League of Legends team qualified as well for the national championships. And, if Dota was in it too, we'd go for all 3. The Triple Crown, I guess.
Give us CSL ideas. That's what we should call it, man.
The Triple Crown. I mean,
Hey, if there's a team that can pull that off, or a school that can pull that off, that'd be pretty damn amazing.
I think, yeah.
So you guys sound like a pretty big club then? Do you know how many members you have?
Let's see. The StarCraft Club, our Facebook group has 120 members as of today. We have about, I'd say maybe 30 really active members, club meetings all the time, online all the time. People that show up to our LANs, we've got maybe 70 or 80. And then outside of that, we've just got a big community in the school with League of Legends, some other games, and some other surrounding schools and areas. They all kind of come in and just are under the wing of our StarCraft club.
Excellent. Sounds like you've got a pretty robust program going there then.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, DP, you got anything else for our guest here?
I mean, shout outs, I guess. Do you have anything for family, friends, Georgia Tech, team, stuff like that? What your hope is?
Yeah,
and your hopes in the future? Do you guys, coming into the fall 2013 season, are you guys going to take a hit to the roster? Anything like that significant?
I mean, well, first of all, I'll start out with our plans. Obviously, we plan on winning it, and
that's what I like to hear.
Yep. We, it's looking good for us right now. I don't want to jinx it, but, be on the lookout. We've been a little bit under the radar in the past couple years, but this year, it's definitely our time. And let's see. Next year for our roster, there's a chance that we're losing Masan, and that's going to be so sad. I don't even want to think about it. He's become such a good friend of mine. And it'll be really sad, but hopefully that doesn't happen, and we'll find out when the time comes. But I'd like to shout out, of course, to everyone on the StarCraft team. All my friends out there, everyone, even in the LoL club, even though we don't get along so well, but especially the LoL team, they're really good friends of mine. Shout out to all of our friends in Atlanta, Future, all those people, some people from KSU. The Battle and Brew, and of course my parents. maybe they probably won't watch this, but in the off chance that they do, thank you, Mom and Dad, for supporting me in my endeavors with StarCraft. And I mean, I guess that's about it.
All right. And,
Okay, can you do one favor for me? One favor.
Absolutely.
Can you tap Masan on the shoulder and ask him to log on to raid call?
We actually cannot log on to raid call. Oh. Hey, Masan. They said you need to get on raid call. Okay. You have to get on. Right now? You can't. You can't. We might get DQ'd.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Georgia Tech is behind some kind of weird firewall, and unfortunately
we
can't
had
access raid call.
something.
You got banned today in Twitch chat. I laughed so hard and felt so bad at the same time. Yes, somebody banned him out of like all our mods. Some rogue mod banned him and must have known the whole story behind Georgia Tech. I'm like, oh my god, come on.
That's hilarious. But yeah, we can't get on it. We've been trying to figure out a way around it, but so far we've been unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully your school will stop banning these great programs. And
Absolutely.
I think for your Twitter, it's at Remix, right? RIMIX.
Mine personally is Remix with 2 I's, and our school is God Tech Esports.
So it's GA Tech Esports. Thank you very much for being on here, and I definitely look forward to you guys being in the playoffs.
All right, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Later, man.
You have a good night.
You too.
So that was Remix that we were talking with. That was the coordinator for the Georgia Tech program. Of course, they just made it through this last bracket into the playoffs, which I'm not entirely sure where it'll start, but we have 2 more qualifiers to go, so pretty much at least a month from now, if nothing else.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the last portion of our program here, and that is to take a look at these upcoming teams that are going to be playing. Pull this up a little bit here as much as I can. This, of course, isn't a complete list because registration is still going on, so this is a very preliminary list. It's only got about 30 teams on it right now, and considering we've been having about 50 or so, I'm going to guess we're going to end up with another 20 or so teams in the next couple of days who register.
Yep.
So why don't you walk us through what we got here?
Well, I mean, again, you guys can tell by the numbers. 30 teams at the moment are registered. Probably by the next couple of days, we're going to get at least 2 additional teams to make this into a 32 team bracket, which is, for a third qualifier, not too bad. I would say not too bad. I mean, some schools... Typically, I mean, in a regular CSL season, there's schools that kind of join in. Some people that might have bought HOTA join in. There's certain schools that kind of lose their motivation because they might have lost or something like that in the first round. So, again, I'm seeing some schools out, some schools joining in. Schools that kind of point out to me are some of the third-time returners, guys like Utah, Rutgers, Northern Arizona, Maryland College Park is a big one. And I mean, those are the schools that have been just kind of pounding their head against the qualifier, trying to break in, but really haven't had the success they wanted, especially Maryland College Park probably being the closest one out of those. So, be interesting to see.
Yeah, and hopefully Irvine can stick in there this time around. Once again, I'm not sure what happened there. Carleton, of course, made it far, and let's see, Rutgers once again. I think are probably one of our underdog picks.
Yep.
Still a very good team with a lot of potential going on. They've been in there, and it's actually interesting. I was modding chat today on Twitch, and there were a couple of people who were like, "Hey, I've got a school. I think I can get some people. How do I join this thing?" So. We may even see schools we've never even heard of before coming in, and that's
hopefully.
actually the great thing about these qualifiers right now is that if your school, if you have a team or you're on a team and you haven't heard of the CSL or you just haven't been able to make it in, you're not disqualified from getting these tournaments. There wasn't an early sign up. You can still sign up, of course. By the time this airs, this qualifier will be closed, but you can still sign up for the 4th qualifier. There will be a post on it, of course, on our website at cstarleague.com. Who do you like? I'm going to assume that Washington's going to get it.
Yeah, again, you got to go with them. I don't know what the heck happened to them in the last qualifier. They kind of just ran out of, like we mentioned earlier, just ran out of gas against Georgia Tech. Can't explain it. But still being having Kawhi, having Caliber, having Longpo, having that just whole entire roster available to them to utilize, I can't. It would be wrong of me not to pick them still. So Washington being one of them. The other one, the second one, is actually very, very tough for me to pick because we've got schools, we got Carnegie and Mellon in there, we've got North Texas in there. Again, a lot of those universities that I talked about, the third triers. It's probably, I would assume, going to come down to if how everything has been going and how consistent it's been. Probably this might be finally the time where Maryland College Park breaks through. I really hope so. They've been so damn close. They've been inches away from qualifying. I hope this is the one they're going to take.
And I think we had Aiden around in our chat talking as one of he's basically MCP's best player, and he seemed really enthusiastic about this upcoming one as well. So definitely look for them to making some more waves and hopefully finally breaking through that round of 4 barrier. If Washington's in here, once again we're gonna have to favorite them as much as we pick them. They also got a little bit unlucky having to go through a team like Georgia Tech, but then again, I'm not sure how they would have fared against a team like Western Ontario either. So it's kind of hard to call what would have happened there.
Second pick, man. Second pick. You got to take it. You got to make it.
Yeah. You know what? Okay. So Washington is on this list right over here.
Can we pick Washington twice to win this?
No, I didn't see them on the list here first, so I thought they hadn't registered yet. Second pick, if it's just off this list, then once again there will probably be more teams added onto it. Yeah, you know what? I would pick Carleton, but UMCP just beat them. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna have to go with UMCP. They've shown some solid games. They've been in there like right on that cusp. I gotta believe that they will practice their asses off because they're not gonna want to go through yet a 4th qualifier. They're really gonna want to make it this time. So definitely best of luck to them, and I hope to see them in the playoffs as it goes on.
2 X factors for me though. University of Texas Austin, out of nowhere, showed up in qualifier number 2. They didn't even play in the first one. Showed up in qualifier number 2, absolutely ran through, breaking basically every university up until they got beat by Western Ontario, right? Or wasn't it Western Ontario? What was it?
UTA? I believe they got beat.
College Park. No, yeah, Western Ontario in a round of 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, UTA. So I wanted it without Western Ontario, without Georgia Tech, without Berkeley, without Davis. I want to see how far they might be able to go, and also Purdue, maybe a potential opportunity, seeing as if they don't lose in the first round again by some odd chance. Want to see. And you know what? Hell, let's make a 5th pick. Let's make a 5th X factor. Hashtag Berkeley College of Music. Why not?
There you go.
Go for the underdogs. The 16 seed. Let's do it, guys. Come on, I believe in you. Number 32 seed. Yep.
Yeah, I think they did fairly well this year. Of course, this last season. Sorry, this time around they lost Texas A&M 3-0, but Texas A&M also then gave Washington a run for their money. So it's possible that they just ran into a team that they just couldn't handle. And once again, you don't quite know with how the matchups exactly went, or maybe they didn't have somebody show up. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. And of course, I'm always looking forward to seeing a team come out of nowhere like UT Austin and Cal Poly, because it just makes for so much of a better story, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, there's not exactly like too many schools that I'm noticing that are like really new. I mean, looking at the school list, unless like Berkeley College of Music, Johns Hopkins, Miami, LSU, University of Chicago hasn't played in the first 2 qualifiers, so I don't know what they're capable of either. So who knows what they might do. Just we're starting to get to that point where we're seeing a lot of these school names, and we're kind of getting a feel for them even better, how they're doing in these back-to-back qualifiers every other week. So I don't think we're going to have as many come up, but at the same time, with having a lot of these big schools out of the way, they might have the opportunity to do that too as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, once again, this has been Collegiate Game Day. We're sponsored by MSI, NCIX, Rave Call, and of course, you still have, that is the wrong screen, you still have the MSI April to Remember laptop contest that you can enter, where if you make a video about why your old laptop is crappy and you should get a new one, you can win this laptop right here. It's on the screen. You can see it. It looks sweet. It looks like it is from a movie from the future. That's going to do it for me. DP, any last words from you?
Not too much. You guys can always follow me at CheeseheadLogic on Twitter. You guys can always check out my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/CheeseheadLogic, with schoolwork and everything else going on. Basically kind of boarded around Friday, Saturday, Sunday streams, but hopefully once in a while I'll be able to do a little bit more. Shout outs to everybody that's qualifying for Code A, dealing with the WCS problems. Hopefully, we'll see this maybe come out as a good thing. I don't know. I don't know, for the whole esports scene. I think everybody's like freaking out right now, but who knows, man? Maybe we'll come out on top.
And of course, you can follow me at Imagine_42. You can also follow me on Twitch, which is just Imagine42 with no underscore, because somebody else had my name on Twitter. So there's that.
And good luck to everybody qualifying in the qualifier number 3. Good luck to you guys.
Absolutely, and we'll be casting round of 8 starting next Tuesday and going on to round of 4 the Tuesday after that. And then we'll have I'm not sure what our community night's going to be this time around. Maybe we'll do some arcade games or something like that. We'll also say bye to Mr. Messer, who's right over here, who unfortunately couldn't join us today because he's got finals, but he's been staring at me the entire night.
Just cold, hard, in-depth analysis, man, all night long.
Yeah, he's the silent protagonist. That's who he is. Anyway, so thanks everybody for watching, and this will go on to YouTube fairly soon as well, so you can watch it there at your heart's content. And of course, we'll do yet another one of these in a couple of weeks, where we will wrap up qualifier number 3. Just in case you missed anything, you can go by here, and we'll give you everything you need to know. Yep. That'll do it for us. You guys have a great night.
Later.